Many of us experience the Karoo through simply driving between Johannesburg and Cape Town, and at face value it's dry and it's barren and arid, but there's an enormous opportunity here to have a positive conservation impact, not only on the fantastic species here, but also on the communities that live in this landscape. My name is Kobus Teron. I work for the Drylands Conservation Program of the Endangered Wildlife Trust. Our mission really is to create increased protection of unique habitats and unique biodiversity within the Karoo. To do this, we have partnered with the United Nations Development Program, the Global Environment Facility, and the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environmental Affairs to launch a 5-year sustainable land management project. For this project to work, we decided to select champions within 3 nodes within the Karoo. Our first node is in EWT in the Northern Cape, our second node is in Loxton, and our third node is in Naisburg near Toes River in the Western Cape. Today we'll tell you more about our journey in these 3 nodes and these 3 landscapes, the people we have met and the changes that we are bringing about. What makes EWT unique from a biodiversity perspective is the fact that 3 biomes merge here: the fynbos biome, the succulent Karoo biome, and the Nama Karoo biome. This creates extraordinary biodiversity in a very localized spot.
EWT is known as the bulb capital of the world, so there's almost 1,300 bulb species that you can find here. At least 30% of the species are endemic, and most of these endemics are red listed species, so they are threatened with extinction mostly due to climate change, because they rely on weather patterns to come up every year, and then there's also farming practices that put them at risk.
We are currently in EWT on the farm Papkuilsfontein, where one of our champions is transforming his 7,000 hectare farm into a protected environment.
Ons bly in EWT area. Ons is plaas Papkuilsfontein. Ek is die 6de generasie op die plaas. Ons gastebedryf, ons het 'n bietjie rooibos tee, ons het skaap. Ons is besig om oor te gaan na 'n wolkomponent van die skaap. Ja, dit is 'n bietjie wat ons is. Bietjie rooibos tee, bietjie olywe. In die laaste tyd met die droogte, met die weersomstandighede, ons besef dat dit is nie standhoudend, kan jy nie met skaap boer soos ons aangegaan het. Ons moet iets anders te bedink. So die fokus het verskuif na, soos die ou tyd, net 'n skaapboerdery, ek gaan net boer, na gastebedryf, ekotourisme. En die ekotourisme kant het gekom, ons sien, daar's 'n gaping. Ons moet die gaping vul, ons moet meer mense trek buite seisoen. Blomtyd is briljant vir ons trek baie mense. Daarna moet ons meer mense trek. Toe het ons besluit, saam met EWT, fietsryroutes. Daar was 'n paar goed op die tafel gelê. Die mees algemene een wat ons almal dink die vinnigste sal rendement draai, is fietsry.
The Endangered Wildlife Trust and the Provincial Department of Environmental Affairs have been working on biodiversity stewardship for years. And the whole idea on this specific farm was to actually create tangible benefits that are immediately available to landowners, so that they can see the changes they are making have immediate results. And as such, we proposed to develop a mountain bike trail on this farm in exchange for the farmer declaring his farm as a biodiversity stewardship site, in addition to implement a management plan which will ensure that the farm is more appropriately managed for conservation purposes.
But it was also a nice opportunity to bring in a community aspect, to train young individuals from the community as guides. And on Papkuilsfontein, with the scenery and that they have here, it just lends itself to ecotourism. So it's a great opportunity to diversify income from livestock farming and focus on tourism. And through the stewardship program and joining forces with Endangered Wildlife Trust, who had a champion farmer program, Papkasfontein obviously was one of the ones that we had an ideal farm to pilot the collaboration on.
They are willing landowners that want to conserve this area, they want to protect it, and it was a nice opportunity for us to learn from a farmer what's important to them, and the same for them to learn what's important for us and how the project can benefit our side as well.
JP Leroux wat hier by ons is, hy's in ons area, hy werk saam met ons. Daar's 'n goeie kommunikasie tussen ons. Ek het 'n lekker ondersteuningsbasis. Hulle het 'n groep, hulle kom met voorstelle. Dit werk goed vir ons. Dit werk goed op Papkasfontein vir ons.
In Loxton, we have identified a number of champions who are communal farmers and farm in the commonage. The commonage was historically really poorly planned, and the grazing management did not allow for rest in the veld. And what we're doing in that specific project is we're assisting communal farmers to refence their farms in such a way that they can actually practice rotational grazing and that they can rest the veld.
The way the exchange works between the EWT and the communal farmers is that we assist them with the supplies and the materials to build these fences and where to put them up, and their contribution is to support with labour and to implement the management practices that they are training on.
Die heininge was vir ons belangrik geweest, want jy moet hulle nou of in een groot kamp injaag en dan weer dat hulle hare ruk loop en dan weer in die volgende groot kamp. So, ek kan nie genoeg vir julle sê dankie vir die heininge wat julle vir ons. Want nou kan ons ramme uithaal, ons kan ons lammetjies speen, ons kan ons gisgoed uithaal, dis nie goed wat besig is om te lam. Ja, so, die heininge het vir ons bitter baie beteken. So ja, ek moet vir julle sê baie dankie.
The added benefit of that is that on Paul's property here, we're close to a drainage area, a riparian area, which is also home to critically endangered riverine rabbits. So there's also that added benefit of benefiting conservation of a critically endangered species.
The work that we are doing will ensure that veld is better managed, and better managed veld will provide better homes and better habitat for these species.
Aside from assisting the farmers with materials for their fencing, we also assist them in terms of training. So we've developed an integrated farm planning course that assists them to develop a management plan for their farms. And this just allows the farmer to better understand how his farming practices influence the environment he farms in.
The reason why we promote these training courses is because our work is mostly in rural and remote areas where access to information is very limited. For that reason, we opened the e-learning center, which makes the information and training available to farmers and community members in the area, which they didn't have access to before, to develop skills and to apply for online jobs. Apart from the online training that we have available, we also did a needs assessment with farmers to establish which other skills and training they require. As such, we brought in experts to help the farmers with financial planning. We did a plant identification course, Google Earth training so they can better plan and manage their farms, as well as adult literacy classes.
The course I'm currently studying is animal production. Before I did the course, me and my father were farming on a whole different strain. We were not looking carefully after our animals the first time around, but this time around, through the course, I actually know what I'm doing, and I'm thinking I'm doing better this time. It's working.
We believe that learning will lead to a change in action, which will lead into a change for more sustainable landscape in the Karoo.
In an iceberg, We have identified a number of landowners who are willing to enter the biodiversity stewardship program, and they will be declaring their farms as nature reserves. We are hoping that this large protected area, which will exceed 20,000 hectares, which adjoins the Anaisberg Nature Reserve, will provide new opportunities to create a nature-based economy, which will focus largely around tourism and other guided activities.
What makes this Anaisberg area particularly exciting is that already 25 years ago, individuals who bought property in this area had a vision for conservation in this area. And Endangered Wildlife Trust has come into the landscape now to help make that vision a reality by taking the landowners through the process of biodiversity stewardship in partnership with the provincial conservation authorities. So you've got the government authorities, you've got the private landowners, and you've got an NGO all working together for a common goal of conservation. And it's outside of the formally protected areas, which is what's really exciting.
For Anaisberg, you know, we're 83,000 hectares. And if we can get the farmers and incorporate them into the reserve where we can actually then lift some of these fences, they will benefit by game moving onto their properties. It also gives us, our game, bigger areas where they can utilize. Going into these agreements with the landowners, I think it's giving a big push into the right direction. And I hope this will actually, other landowners will see what's going on and make them curious and say, maybe we want to be part of that. For me, one day, this will be my dream to see this happen. And I would love to see this one day, this reserve grow into this big mega type of park.
We decided to call our project the Karoo Forever project because what we really want to do is to preserve these agricultural landscapes into perpetuity. And while they will take very long to respond to the management actions we are putting in place now, if we can change the hearts and the minds and the behavior of people living in the land, then it creates a really strong foundation to enable sustainable land management in the future.
My visie vir vorentoe is dat ek nie die laaste ene moet wees nie. Met die manier van boere en hoe ons dit samenwerking met ekotourisme, met EWT, dat ek nie die laaste geslag is, dat daar Papkilsfontein, Gasteplaas, Papkilsfontein boerdery moet vorentoe gaan.
Ek moet nog steeds kan wisselwerking toepas en sodat ek kan in die toekoms, al sal my kinders hier eendag moet kom oorvat of ene kan die ding verbeter, dat hulle kan kom sê, ja, alhoewel die droogtes of alhoewel nog die plaan goed die was, is hier nog steeds iets om aan te gaan.
From now, I'm already farming, but in a small scale. Then I would really like in future to own my own farm and create jobs and curb poverty. Yeah.
Our vision is to work with all the stakeholders in the Karoo landscape. So the landowners, who are the farmers in some cases, other people who are not farming, who have bought properties and own properties literally for the botanical and the spatial beauty. And in working with the government departments as well, the government conservation departments. I think by combining resources, knowledge, skill, we can really be a formidable force for conservation in the Karoo if we work together.
When you take the time to actually see this wonderful part of our country, you just realize the fantastic conservation opportunities that the Karoo still presents. In many ways, the Karoo is the future frontier of conservation. If we take the right steps now, if we make sure that land is managed sustainable, we will be able to preserve these wild places in the Karoo, the vast open spaces, the clear night skies forever.